you know, it was a good Saturday, and I was actually in my gym when my dean, Zubin, posted on the internal group that, guess what, Kunal? Chef Shannon Bennett is coming to ISH. And I thought, you know what, this might be a Zoom call or something of that sort. I said, why would a chef who's visiting India, perhaps Bombay and Delhi for like a couple of days only, why would he kind of come down to ISH? And he said, no, he's actually coming physically to ISH. And literally my house, I got 2 daughters, everyone knows that, my wife, they were super excited. And the first thing my wife told me that he is perhaps the best mentor chef for all the master chefs out there. And I was like, you know what, if I get that opportunity to talk to him about that, I will. How you doing?
Oh, what an introduction.
Now, how you doing?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm great. No, very, very great. Yeah. Great. I mean, what a pleasure to be here. India is such an incredible, diverse country, and just not enough time. Love to obviously be here for more time, but I'll be back many times.
And you come to India quite often?
No. I mean, for my first time in Delhi.
Oh.
For me, I think I'm going to make a bit more of a ritual now that I've got time. My kids are getting older, that I'd love to be coming here every year, because every time you come here, you draw something back. You know, it's just the stories.
Welcome to the vibrant, crazy 1.5 billion democracy.
Yeah, but everyone has got a story, and so I'm constantly taking notes.
Yeah,
because every time you think, okay, I'm going to go here, and then you go there, and it's like a part of another puzzle, and they say, no, you should go here. You got to try this food. You got to meet this person.
Yeah,
it's just and the history here is just people don't realize that pre-British times here, like the culture is so rich, and you're talking thousands of years that you just like it's peeling away layers of just and.
Oh, absolutely. I think if anyone decodes India, right? It's the toughest place to be in.
It's a good way of saying it.
It's the toughest market to be in. For perhaps more importantly, Shannon, is the kind of people we have, right? We got like more than 30 provinces over here, completely different. Yeah. Each province speaks a very different language. Yeah. English being the common thread, but everyone has their own native language.
And a different cuisine.
And and different flavors.
Yeah.
It's symphony happening every single day.
And they're so parochial. That's why I've met so many different people telling me versions of a biryani.
Yeah.
No, you put this in, the ghee goes here. You put the ghee in the top. No, you put the ghee at the start. You use this many cardamom. You use this much. Use stock. Use water.
Yeah.
And you could talk to someone about one recipe for an hour.
Yeah.
So it's incredible.
Talk to us about Culinary Wonderland. That's such a brilliant aspect that you're kind of promoting right now, right?
Yeah. Well, Culinary Wonderland really is, I think, the future, and the fact that we're just talking about some of these wonderful books you've got here.
Yeah.
That they always have a place in my heart, and I think everyone's heart, where you go and sit in a quiet place and you flip through a book. But I think what draws people to the fact that you get the time to do that and read a book for not just the recipe, but the story behind the recipe, is that Culinary Wonderland has got a lot of stories, a lot of chefs that are cooking. So their time is just taken up with intensity. And they've got these wonderful pieces of artwork, I call them, and they just put them back on the shelf and no one gets to see them, all these recipes.
True.
So I wanted authentic recipes. I wanted it to come directly from the chef.
True.
So say a student here is really wanting to know something about how a chef does a particular,
the originality.
At the end of
profiterole.
the
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like I met a chef on Masterchef who her recipe for profiteroles was incredible. Yeah. And then I Googled it and there was 6 different versions of that recipe. Yeah. So getting that then onto Culinary authenticated by her means that we've got a collection by the end of the year of over 30,000 recipes.
And you're putting this out there for everyone to see and perhaps take it and, I would say proliferate these recipes or you may want to change it to your spec, right? And make another dish out of it.
But at least you have the authentic,
the
base. And I think it also democratizes recipes. Because it started with George Columbaris. George got a really hard time unfairly in Australia. You get that tall poppy in Australia. where everyone pushes you up there and supports you, and you get to the top, and then you buy the new car.
Yeah.
Worst thing you can do. Don't buy a new car.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you got a target on your back and they take you down. And George got taken down unfairly and really severely. And I was speaking to George and talking about a recipe that he had on a site called taste.com. And it was the most downloaded recipe in Australia during COVID.
Yeah.
And I was like, George, you get any money for that? Yeah. You know, even like a cent per download? And he goes, nothing.
So you also have a tech business. You told me, right?
Yeah.
It's like how the source codes, there are open source codes out there. This is what you're doing to the recipe right now in the world. And that's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Which essentially, again, as I go back to the same thing, is if I want to be truly world-class, you know what, let me be inspired by these world-class chefs and how they have developed their recipes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And aggregated into one spot, which is exciting. You know, we've got so many incredible, diverse chefs from around the world. So globally, particularly Sanjeev Kapoor is here. We've got him on the site.
Yeah.
Shipra Kane is on the site, and they've been an incredible support. So I think for me, India is going to be one of our sources of a lot of storytelling and a lot of our recipes that we can take out to the world.
And it's crazy, as I said, it's the breadth and the depth of this nation in terms of flavors, cuisine, spices, everything. I think it's just...
We want to know what the story really is, because for me, Indian cuisine is so complex in terms of looking at it from outside in. But once you're here and you're eating with people who are passionate about it, it becomes so simple, nearly romantic in the way that Indian food and the story behind every dish and the way things are made. And when you eat particular things at a certain time of the day, the world needs to know this.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's exciting to be here and be part of that narration.
That's super. You've been all around the world, right? You've seen culinary institutions. You've been here. Genuine feedback. What do you think about Indian School of Hospitality?
Incredible. I mean, we've got a little entrepreneurship over there where like your own version of Shark Tank. There's a lecture theatre down a laneway that looks like a cobblestone street. I mean, mind blowing, you know.
You wanted to get the outdoors indoors, right?
Incredible. Yeah. Amazing. And then upstairs seeing, you know, the kitchens, all the different types of kitchens, even your own tasting room, like sophisticated, proper setup tasting room. I mean, this is world class. This is like, I don't know of anything in Australia like this.
Yeah. And hospitality in India, right? Which hoteliering, hospitality per se, is growing at about 8 to 12%, 8 to 10% year on year.
Incredible.
So you can think about, and we are a $4 trillion economy right now. And by all estimates, people are saying that this will be a $10 trillion economy, the world's third largest economy in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And in that process, when you are an ascending economy and there's economic prosperity, people spend on food. People spend on hospitality. Right. And this place is just going to explode in the next 10 years.
Well, I think there's a lot of aspiration here. Yes, and I think that, you know, when you were talking earlier, we were discussing while having a coffee about, you know, the tech sector and the amount of talent that has come from India to now lead a lot of those tech businesses. I think hospitality-wise has got a lot of similarities in the fact that aspiration and the ability to work hard, they're the two things.
Discipline. Indians, you know, we are kind of disciplined from that perspective. And this is just my forecast, right? I'm a true patriot Indian. So my own forecast is as much we have exported tech and tech intellectuals in the next 10 to 15 years will be made in India hospitality for the world.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Totally agree. I mean, at the moment in Australia, we can see that. I mean, we've got a small proportion of each kitchen will have someone from India in the kitchen who might be there just even for 6 months, who's come out just to absorb and see what's going on. And then they're off to America or they're off to Europe. You know, we were talking upstairs to some of the students about Peru, you know, like South America and Central America. You know, Mexican food seems to be growing here in interest with people.
Absolutely.
So I just urged all the students to say that this is your ticket to the globe by studying here. And then all of a sudden you've got that ticket to the globe. You've got Chef Ducasse badge on there as well, added little bonus to, I mean, you can't tell people, you can't describe it, how sophisticated this school is.
I can't begin to tell you, Masterchef Australia, in my opinion, completely changed the way we thought about culinary and culinary education in India or the F&B. They're about if not anything, millions of youth right now listening to you, what would you like to tell them?
Well, I think it's all about aspiration. I think, the luckier you are is always because of how hard you worked. And I think from that, you've just got to stick to it. There's going to be more tough times than good times, but you've got to remember that the bad times actually make the good times.
So right.
And if you believe that and you want to get out of bed every morning with aspiration and saying, yes, I can do it with the energy, the world is your oyster.
So
like this whole country, not just Mumbai and not just Delhi, is built on the fact that they can see the future.
Yeah.
It's aspiration, and that's through the young. They can see that.
To someone like me who's really building this stone by stone and want to be that school of reference for Indians in India and for the world, what would you like to tell me? What's your advice to people like me?
Keep going. Keep opening one of these in every city.
Yeah.
Keep engaging with chefs that are out there, because they, no matter what, I think as a chef who has worked hard in the industry, has now left but always on the peripheral of the industry. This for me means a lot, coming back to schools and talking to young students and just seeing the aspiration in their eyes. I think there's a lot of need for you to replicate what you're doing in every city in India. So every state needs one of your schools. So that's 28 schools.
Last two questions for you.
Yeah.
And I spoke about this earlier as well. There was a lot of feedback which kind of came to me because they knew I was going to be talking to you and saying, how are you so humble?
Well, I think that I always look at the fact that I'm a spoke in a wheel, and we're all part of the same wheel. And I think that with the guys in the kitchen, yes, you need to show leadership sometimes, but most of the time I feel like I'm part of a team that we're all contributing. So I think humility is just part of all of that. I think, I don't see myself better than anyone else. I see we all go through stages and cycles and where we are. And obviously it's some part of the stage and the cycle. You're the leader. But I always have, and it's a bit of advice to everyone as well, I feel like when you're the smartest in the room and that you ever feel like that you aren't humble or you don't have humility, it's time to leave that room. And you go again and you go, always be the dumbest in the room. That's what I love to be. And then your curiosity takes over again and you're always humble and you've always got humility.
I'm almost your age, you're almost my age. And oftentimes, I don't know about you, but I often think, what would the end be like? What do you think when someone's reading your eulogy, if at all? What do you think they would be telling?
Well,
what do you think they'll be saying?
Well, I hope that I would like to say that I've left a legacy in the industry in Australia, that just because you, the chef, have built something and your name is on the door and patrons are coming to see you, that you can't hand that over to someone else. And at a restaurant is bigger and better than just one person. And that's why I didn't retire Vue de Monde. I had it as part of my exit strategy to live a better life. And I feel that I'd like to leave that as a legacy. But also, as what I talked about, I'd love to be able to say that anytime that Shannon was in a room where he wasn't learning, he always moved to the next room.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, my definition of success, and especially for people like you, is you are that impact person. You leave that impact and influencing in your own way through the F&B culture, and you're putting everyone together.
Kunal, thank you very much. Yeah.
No, seriously. And God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, amazing. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This was a quick bite. Usually we run a 1 hour podcast, but salam, namaste, sat sri akal, and adab, and absolutely thrilled to have this conversation with Chef Shannon Bennett. God bless.